Hi guys, Squill here, and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever, Road to $1 billion, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, if you're new to the series, hit subscribe if you want to follow it. And the goal is to get to $1 billion on hard mode with a few mods. Mods are listed in the video description. There's a Steam collection for that. And yeah, hope you're enjoying the series so far. Looks like a lot of you are really enjoying it, which is cool. And I've seen some nice little tips and tricks in the comments section as well. So I'm learning too, which is all good. In the last episode, what we kind of did was we put our first passengers online. So we built this lovely high-speed road between Thatcham and Mablethorpe, which has helped us to, well, it's helped the private traffic as well. But we also put a bus route into a hub. We put a station in each city and put a little bus circuit in to get people around the city and then also to the hub. And then the hub transfers them out to the other cities. Such as Mablethorpe and down to Romsey, where there's a similar thing. And at some point, you know, we may upgrade these to train stations if the capacity's there. And this is the other thing, is when you do set these up, do come back and keep your eye out on what's going on here. Because that's quite a long run for a bus to Mablethorpe. Trains are obviously quicker. But you need to gauge the demand. You can obviously look at the overlays, this little destinations layer here. And you can see that there are a significant number of people making journeys out to the city. But it's all good because at the end of the day, you can see here we're now 50% are taking public transport and only 40% are taking private. That gets more vehicles off the road and it's more money for us because these are obviously paid, you know, it's income for us. These are not. But yeah, it's all going pretty well. We've just been leaving it running for a little while. We've got $50 million in the bank, which sounds like a lot, but when we're talking about a full train is costing us, you know, 10, 15 million. It's not a huge amount of money. Speaking of which, what is the plan for today? Well, the plan for today is we're going to have to go and sort out the oil situation. This thing has been steadily running, you know, bringing us good income, but it is creaking now. How do I know it's creaking? Well, if I bring up the line manager, I've noticed that the top three losses on our transport network are all fuel related. So why is that? Is that a demand or a supply problem? Well, if you look at each city, they are not getting enough fuel anymore. These cities have been growing since we set them up. So that one's definitely not getting enough fuel. And if you look at Loughton, that's definitely not getting enough fuel. So this is not a demand problem, which is much easier to solve because it means what we basically have is a supply problem. And as you've probably noticed down here, it's a little bit obvious what the problem is. We're simply not moving enough crude anymore. This thing is spewing it out. We're only transporting half of it, and we really need to transport a lot more. Now, currently, we have 3 trains. I think these are G3s, if I remember. These are very old trains, 23 years old. This is a G3, I think, with 13 small tanks on the back. So the capacity is only 65. So the first thing we're going to do is replace these 3 trains with 2 higher speed trains, 2 trains that are akin to what we did here with the kind of food and whiskey run. Sorry, not whiskey. It's got a whiskey symbol. It's food and alcohol. So we're converting alcohol into food. If you remember, grain to alcohol, alcohol to food. Food gets distributed between Thatcham and Loughton. So what we need to do is get a similar setup. So what we use for that one is a BR75 bed. Now, we used a 75 because that road was relatively flat. The road, the ground here is mostly flat until you get to this section that's quite hilly. So we should be able to get away with a flat, a BR35 here because there's not a steep incline. If you remember the BR35, we did talk about this last time. We'll go through it now again, though. If we go to replace one of these trains here, replace selected vehicle, the diesel... No, not the diesel. We're not on diesel yet. We're steam locomotive. The BR75, my beg your pardon, BR75 has 85 kilonewtons of tractive effort, whereas the A35, which goes a bit quicker, has 115. So this is a much more expensive train per year to run, 3.7 million 600k versus 2 million 355k. It's quite a significant difference. This will do when you don't need to haul up a hill. This when you need to go up a hill. So what I'm proposing is we get BR75 bads on here. And what we'll do is if we just pause it temporarily, because this train is quite light with fuel. When it's on the way out, It's got a lot of crude. Yeah, actually, it doesn't matter. What we're going to do is replace these now. So we'll get this. We'll replace 2 of them and ditch the 3rd train, because I don't think we'll need 3. Not initially, anyway. So I'll highlight 2 of them. We'll say replace, and then we'll build our new train. So we're going to do a 75, and the wagons are going to be the large fuel tank cars. Remember, we are limited to the speed of the consist, so we, even though our loco can do 90 or 100, it doesn't matter. If your car can only do 80, it will only do 80. So if we sort of build up to, say, let's see, 99 capacity, we're going to need a lot of capacity. I reckon possibly a 200-meter train, but that might be too much for this engine. How long does that take? So that takes 3 minutes to get to top speed on a flat surface, which is pretty useless, to be fair. So let's drop it down to 153 capacity, 154 meters. That's almost 2 minutes. Let's maybe drop one more off. 144 capacity sounds good. We'll get a couple of those. So that's 16.9 million, which we can afford. So we'll ditch those 2. And then what we'll do is we'll quickly sell this vehicle. Okay, now, did I configure the color? I don't think I did. Okay, that's now done. Right, so let's see what happens now when this guy gets in. Click on the train. There he goes, load up with 144. And this, we're going to start taking bites out of this. And what we'll do is we'll speed time up just so that we can see what's going on. Remember, by the way, if you are following the playthrough, just remember, if you click on the date down here, we are running the date at half speed, which means the calendar of the game progresses at half of its normal speed. You can go slower. I kind of find that half speed is good. Otherwise, as you're playing the game, you're whisking through the decades very quickly, and you get lots of vehicle replacements very quickly, and I find it a little bit too fast personally. Now, having fixed the crude, we should start to see the fortunes of this turnaround, because it is a factory that takes goods in. You never, ever want it to run out of goods. So what we're going to do is just watch now and see what happens on the network to see if 2 trains can actually keep up with this thing. Because this thing is burning through fuel. And there's one on the way already. It may need 3, or we could go for a longer train. I don't want to go for a longer train, though, because they are... it does slow them down. And quite frankly, when this crude picks up now, this network is going to struggle. Because you're going to start to see a build-up of oil here. Because these are very slow on the way up there. Alright, so it's run out of crude and another delivery's coming in. But we can already see there's an awful lot of oil starting to pile up. 72 on the platform, and this one can only take 65, so it's already, it's already lost the battle. We're going to have to replace those 2, but I want to make sure we've got the crude problem nailed before we start upgrading those. Because at the end of the day, this game is a balancing act, and it's a bit of a moving target, really, because as your cities expand, the demand grows. As the demand grows, the factories start outputting more, and then suddenly they level up, and when they level up, they suddenly want more goods in, and it's all a constant fine-tuning balance, this game. Speaking of which, if you quickly have a look here, you can see the passenger numbers are starting to build up. If you click on a line and look at the it should say frequency, it says frequency. 3 minutes, alright? So that bus line has a 3-minute pickup frequency. Now, given how many people are starting to queue up, you may consider that you need to put more buses on the line. If you do, just have the line up, click on Manage Vehicles, and then, so we've got 6 here. Let's say we add another 2 to the line. Just click on the clone, and that will chuck another 2 in, all with identical colour, all on the same line. They'll come out the nearest depot, and that should reduce the frequency. That's the kind of thing that you have to do, is if you're out here like this and you see a big stack of icons there, like there is whiskey here waiting to be picked up, but I'm not worried about that because there's plenty of capacity. But if you see that, you may have to just jump in there and tweak it. Right, this factory is... Okay, there's a train here. I think we are going to need 3, amazingly enough. I think another one of those trains on that line should keep that in crude. This number is going up, so this is going towards leveling it up now. And if we add a 3rd train, it absolutely will level up, and therefore it will need more crude. So I'm going to go to Manage Vehicle, and I'm going to clone Selected Train, and that should chuck out a 3rd one. It's better to do it this way, though. It's better to start with not enough trains, and then when you see the demand, add another one. And that way you don't... That's interesting. It came out of that depot. Notice that? It came out of this depot here and not this depot here. It's because I'll tell you what it is. It's the first station on the line. It's weird, this game. But if you go to that line there, managed line, its first stop was Loughton Central. Oh no, it should have gone straight here. I don't understand this game. It should have come out of that station and gone to here. Instead, it came out of this station and went to here. Who knows? It's the way it works. Just live with it. But yeah, 3 on that line should solve that problem. Now, we are a bit low on cash because we just spent an absolute ton of money. But we absolutely are going to need to expand these 2 now because they're no good. You can already see the problem now. It's building up and it's about to level up. Okay, so we want to do a similar thing with these 2. We may not have the budget for this. We'll see how it goes. We'll go to steam locomotive and we'll pick out an A35. We'll drop that in there. Cargo, we'll go down to full tanks and then we'll bring that up to 144 capacity and we'll see what that looks like. So because it's a more powerful engine, it can obviously get up to speed quickly. On a medium incline, it will take 3 minutes to get to 80k. I reckon that is most definitely a medium incline. And 3 minutes is quite a long time, but I'd love to put more cars on the back. But I'm just not... Did you hear the level up? Or it just leveled up. I think we'll just have to replace it. It's already $20 million. We're going to have to go with that for now. And you see the problem. I said to you, 50, 60 million is not a lot. And it really isn't. Not on hard mode. Look at that. We're already strapped for cash. Let's have a look at the train now and see how it performs. So the last one never ever got to 80k's. It couldn't do it up this hill. It was only getting to like 30 or something about here. Well, hopefully this one will fare a bit better. In case you don't know, by the way, if you are new to the game, there's a few little tricks here. So this one, top left, locate. If you click that, it will follow the train. You can obviously mouse wheel in and out. You can hold the mouse button down and spin around, all that kind of thing. And then if you on the image, there is another icon here called Enter Cockpit, which is quite a fun one if you've never tried it. You click that and it goes into a front view. And what you can then do is use W, A, S, and D to sort of move around the train. So you can get these kind of cool fly over the shoulder looks. And if you press Z and X, it will also go up and down like that. So, you know, if you've never seen that stuff on Transport Fever 2, you might be like, whoa, oh my God. Because I remember the first time I did it, it's brilliant. There's nothing better in this game, seriously, there's nothing better than basically designing a nice big train line and then just sitting out the front there and driving your creation, especially when you get to like high-speed trains. It's so much fun, particularly if you've got like, you know, big bridges with archways and a cracking view and you've got planes flying overhead, trains coming the other way like this. It's great fun. Obviously, it will follow the time, so if you slow it down to normal time, you know, you'll get a better sense of how quickly things are really going. But it is great fun being able to do that. You could do that in Skylines as well. It used to be a mod initially in Skylines, a first-person view. It's also fun if you get like a bus or something and travel around your own city on a line that you designed. Probably old news to a lot of you, but if you're new to the game, which I know some of you are, definitely a cool feature. Let's have a look at this. So that train just left. He is about to burn through all of his oil, but there's another one coming in. So this is good. Now we might end up with another issue where we can't supply. We'll have to see how this goes. 87%. What should happen is, yeah, he's reached level 2. So pretty much you need 2 of these crude oil wells to 1 of those is the general ratio when they're maxed out. So pretty soon, I think this will tap out. In other words, it won't be able to produce any more crude, and we will have to start bringing this online. So we can bring that in at that point, and then this will have to level up itself, but we're getting very close to needing that one. So the next question is, are we starting to move the oil and the fuel that results from all that crude conversion? If we click on this, it's 85 out of 144, so he's probably... Yeah, normally at this point that would be breaking even, but because he's bringing fuel back as well, he's getting paid in both directions, so although he's not got a full load, not by any stretch of the imagination, financially, it's still doing quite well because the fuel back is basically a bonus. The more important thing, though, is what is going on at this factory. And I can already see that things are starting to get to a point where it's going to level up again. We've got trucks waiting to take fuel. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So this is about to get even more thirsty because we've now transporting a lot of what it's producing, and it's producing more because we're feeding it more. So these trucks that sat over here, which were part of the financial issue that we identified at the start, you can see they're still making a loss, but not a huge loss. So, which one was it? Mablethorpe Fuel. Yeah, there you go. So this has already gone down quite a bit in terms of losses because it's now got a more consistent supply to these trucks, which is great. But it may well be the case that there are just too many trucks on this line. I've got a feeling there are because we did upgrade the trucks at one point. We've got 9 vehicles. I think I'm just going to sell a couple. I'm just going to thin the line a little bit because I'm not convinced that we need that many trucks. I've set them to wait now a little bit, so they're just waiting for this to produce fuel. So that one should be steadily loading. Yeah, because they've got a 14 capacity. I think they only had 7 when we first built the line. So we just need to trim that one slightly. In terms of Loughton, we've got a similar situation down here where the fuel comes back on the train. Still a load of crude lying around. The fuel comes back on the train and there just aren't enough vehicles. I think there are too many vehicles. There's not enough oil. So we'll just get rid of a couple of them. Just trim that slightly and just cut our losses back. So every now and again, my advice is every now and again, just click on this and have a look at what's going on. The buses, as I say, you'll almost always lose money. You're lucky if you're breaking even. Don't worry about... I mean, these buses here, look, that one's making money. Brilliant. Pay attention to the cargo as well. Like to see if they're undervalued or overused, that kind of thing. Like that one's running at capacity. It wouldn't surprise me... let's go to Romsey's side. It wouldn't surprise me if we could put more buses on that line. If we click on this, yeah, I thought so. Because when we were sorry to jump around so much, when we was on this screen here, and it says it's basically tapped out 48 by 48, right? So it's maxed out. That's a good indication that you might need more vehicles. And we've just gone there and had a look at it, and I would say absolutely throw a couple more clone vehicles. Throw a couple more on there and use the capacity. But mostly buses will be like this. They'll be under capacity and losing you money. Don't worry about those. But something like fuel, absolutely, you should be making money on fuel. If you scroll down, our biggest earner, funnily enough, is still the alcohol to food conversion line that we made. 4.5 million a year. That's doing pretty well. Now our all fuel line that we just replaced the trains for, that's bringing in 4 million as well, because higher capacity, more income. The Romsey crude one, which is this one here, these are the Blitz trucks. Let's have a quick look at those. Oh, that's this one, yeah. This is another one that we're going to have to sort out shortly, but I wanted to sort that one first. But look at our money down here. Isn't that interesting? We just replaced these trains with faster, more expensive trains and tank cars, and we are already now back at the same point that we were at the beginning. We've earned all that money back because we made brilliant decisions. No, seriously. If you make the wrong decisions on hard mode, you can lose money very quickly. But if you do it right, you can get that money back, and we can solve that other problem shortly as well, because that one's been bugging me. But this one, does it have enough? I don't think so. It's just about on the brink. It was just running out of crude as another train came in. Can we take any more out of there? I don't think we can. I think the best we can do with this line now, another train, it wouldn't take another train, but what it might take, and this is another trick, what it might take is an extra tank or two. Yeah? We've got the platform length for it, so what we can do is go to the edit vehicle again, and we'll throw another couple of tanks on the back of this one, another couple on the back of this one, and another couple on the back of this one. That'll 2.5 million. We'll colour them back to black because it won't colour the new tanks on the back. That will slow the train down a little bit, but because it's quite a flat line that we're on here, it shouldn't affect it too much. But I reckon if we've got it right, we should just about have that line tweaked perfectly so that we're taking everything that it's making. That's where we want to be. We're taking everything that it's making, no less, no more. We don't want to run these trains dry. We want it to be absolutely efficient. And then this thing, we're going to have to start feeding it crude from somewhere else because it's not going to get enough anymore. But that's a different problem. Let's jump back here. Yep, this has leveled up now. Look, this is going through the roof, this one. Trucks. That's getting... There's still capacity there, but it's growing that city quite a lot, which is growing more passengers. Look at this. Look. Like 131, guys. 131 passengers are waiting here to go to Thatcham. Now, that is something that a bus is not easily going to cope with. And that now smells of train line. That smells of passenger train line, that does. 70 people want to go that way, and 115 want to go that way. So that is now ripe to have a train line on. How's this one getting on? 53, so that's a pretty good run as well. That's not quite at that level, but a train passenger service there, I reckon, would make decent money. If you remember, we talked about putting our platform here, right next to the bus station here, so we have a nice little hub going on. And then we can reconfigure this line and branch a train line off that way, and have the train line just more or less follow through here. It is going to be expensive, though, because you have to tunnel through with the train line to bring it to about here. But that is pretty much ready for expansion. However, I think we might have to focus on this one first. This one's bugging me a little bit more. Right, so I had to have just a little think about what I wanted to do here, so I just took a moment, because I never really liked what was going on here. I don't like a number of things. Firstly, we've got trucks queuing up all the time. We've got trucks looping back, going into the city. We've got trucks coming here with crude from here to there. They're getting in the way of these trucks. It's a mess. Not only that, but it's not really performing. If you look at what ROMS is getting, it's getting a good supply of gas, but if you look at the crude factory itself, we're only transporting half of the crude that it can make, and this thing is constantly kind of running out and doesn't really have the demand for stuff. And that's a lot of trucks. Those brand new tank trucks, tipper trucks, okay. So... You see what I mean about the upgrades coming thick and fast, and we're on half speed. So now all of our trucks, we could effectively replace them with probably fewer trucks and save ourselves some money. So that's another fine-tuning job for later. What I want to do, we've got crude oil here, and there are no other refineries around. So pretty much we have to take it to this refinery. So, you know, the nearest one is, I think, there's one down. There's a crude there, and there's a refinery there. So, you know, one option is to get crazy where you take crude all the way down here. You know, we're not going to do that. We're just going to take crude here. But we're going to take the oil to that refinery, and this town over here, Mitcheldean, that requires fuel as well. It's not a very big town at the moment, but it does have a demand for gas. So the first lot of gas will obviously ship into here via a truck. But I want to design our platform such that we can... basically later drive a train down there and drop gas off there too. That's an important thing. Again, thinking one step ahead about when you're putting platforms down, how do you want to orient them? What's your future connectivity needs? So I'm thinking we'll probably have a station here on the south side, and those trains that are taking crude will come out from the south side. I want to stay away from the city because of noise reasons. So the train will come through here, and it will be allowed to pass straight to there, unencumbered. Then there'll be a separate, smaller train which will bring oil back to there. It'll just be a shuttle train. We could do it initially with trucks and just drop the oil off. And I think that's probably what I'll do, because running a few trucks will be a lot cheaper. So we'll have one crude train, comes back empty. Crude, empty. We'll shuttle oil from there to there via truck, and then we'll shuttle it into town via truck. We'll then start to think about either truck or train connection down to Mitcheldean to get the gas down there, which will act as another demand point to help this thing to grow. If and when we need new crude, we're going to get it from here. We're going to bring it on a train up to there and supply that factory. Now, one thing to consider is this road here, Mitcheldean to Lee, sorry, Romsey to Lee, is also a transport hub. So we can't go trashing this road. We have to put something back. So I'll have to design the road network accordingly. Also, Mitcheldean is only connected to Lee. It's not connected to Romsey. So part of me is thinking about possibly trucking fuel all the way from here to here. Our trucks are getting faster now. In fact, we just look at those new ones. Those cargo trucks, the tanker trucks, they can do 60 Ks, which isn't bad. And they carry 13. So, you know, one option here is to just have a high-speed road through the hill and just transport it via truck. And it'll work initially till we get that thing going, and we can possibly replace it later with a train, because a train line from there to there is going to be very expensive, and we're not going to get the demand initially to warrant that. So anyway, what I'll do is I'll just redesign a little bit of this, and then we'll pick it up in a sec when I've plonked some basic bits and pieces in. Okay, I've made some changes, as you can see. I've got it more or less how I want it. I just want to talk you through the more interesting parts. So over here, we've got the truck station that we used to have down at the refinery. I've got a 2-platform station. The reason I've got 2 platforms is so that we can have one platform for unloading crude, and then if we want to use the train service for the oil instead of trucks, we can have another platform for loading oil. So the crude and the oil lines won't interfere with each other. And then we've got a diamond intersection here so that they can cross into either platform. We'll talk about that one in a second. Over here, we've currently have a truck pickup for the crude. This is going to go. And what we're going to have is a train pickup from the crude. And the way I've structured this is we've got one track on the inside there with a platform, which is the pickup area for the crude. And the other 2 train lines here, the tracks, those tracks are going to be through tracks. So when we want to be shipping gas later on in other cities, this way perhaps, those 2 tracks are going to be pass-through tracks, those 2 there. So that one's the siding for unloading, and you can see it can get on and off those tracks. But that's just a bit of forward thinking. Now, this is the interesting one, because we have to have a platform so that the cargo connection station on the inside connects to the platform, which then connects to the road, which then connects to the refinery. So we have to have that platform. But these first 2 tracks here are going to be just for crude. The crude's just going to come straight through on those 2 tracks there. And then the next 2 would be ones where we've got oil and gas potentially going onward. So with that in mind, we're going to click on the station, hit configure, and we're going to come in and we're going to we'll add normal speed just to keep the cost down. We don't need high speed yet. So we're going to add normal. So these are crude ones. And then the next 2 are going to be effectively the pass-through tracks. We could be bringing crude into here on a train. Sorry, oil into here on a train and picking up gas, or any combination thereof. So what we're going to do is put a platform down at this point. And effectively say those 2 are for crude. The crude trains are going to be coming through here, but not stopping. Then these next 2 are going to be potentially stopping platforms. So this needs a double track like that, and then another platform. Like so. So that's the way I'm going to structure it for now. We have got room to expand later. You may have also noticed that I flattened the terrain there just to keep the speed up. And rather it having, it just looked better if I flattened that. So I just use the terrain tools to flatten it. So what we're going to do is get the tracks, normal speed, and we're going to connect them to here. So remember, they're coming into here, and this is going to be the crude pickup. And then this one could be the oil pickup if we were bringing oil back this way, in which case it would branch out onto this line. But initially we're not going to do that. We're just going to truck it in. So we'll just leave that for now. That's like future expansion. And then this here needs to connect there, and then connect that to here, and we should be good to go. Those tracks later on we can fire off if we need to, and if this can't cope with our oil delivery, we'll just branch that line to here and start dropping off oil on the train. Last thing to do then is connect up our stations. What we'll do is we'll go through like So we'll just connect it like that, and then we'll connect this into here so they can basically go off in either direction. You could, if you wanted to, make that a double slip so that trains can come this way and branch off, but we don't realistically need it. Last thing to do is signaling and then the line, and then we're good to go. So let's do that. So we want to, when the trains merge here, we want to have a signal just before the merge like that. So we'll put those two in. Of course, the game has now defaulted back to one way. It always annoys me. Seriously, guys, if you're a dev, if you're a dev listening, right, can you please remember what my preferences are with signals? Just store it in my settings file and don't keep defaulting back to non-one-way signaling. It's so frustrating. Anyway, so trains can come that way, so we want that there, and we want to merge because they're going to be coming onto that track. We'll have a signal there and a signal there, so that'll act as a contention zone. Trains come through here, they then get freed up like so. That's another block. Come through here, that can act as a signal there just before the diamond, and then just after the diamond we'll have another one. That should give a good run through to here. And then after that, we just really want to have like one there. Is that in the right place? Yes, it is. We have another one there like that. One right after the diamond. And that should more or less do that section there. And then this one will have one just before the split. We'll have one back here. We'll get rid of that one. It's too close. And then we'll have one after the merge like that. Another one there. That's fine. And that should realistically do it. The only thing you might want to do is then just have one just before. We're not going to use this track yet, but we'll put the signal in for it just before that merge, and one just after. Which you want to be about here, but we can't because it's a station, so you'd want one there. So that should do it. Let's now define the line. So this is, what station is this? This is Romsey Crude, we'll call it. So we already had a Romsey Oil. I'll just copy that name. We'll have new line, Romsey Crude, and we'll call it 1 just in case we add that other one. Remember, future expansion. So we'll have that. Now we want to be basically getting it from here and then going to here like that. And that looks fine. So at lower Romsey, we'll just tell it to wait for full 60 seconds just to try and fill up the train. We don't want to wait too long. And then at Romsey Annex, it'll just unload everything. So it's literally just a crude drop off, but because it's a train, it should be able to bring a lot of crude. Now, the only thing we've got to do now is convince this thing to stop sending things on the truck and start sending it on the train. Now, you'll notice I've already deleted the line here, which is why it's complaining. Road vehicle, because it doesn't know where to go, quite frankly. Romsey Oil is now effectively an undefined line. Well, it's not an undefined line. It's a new one here, the shorter one. So these 3 vehicles are now stranded. So what we're going to do is quickly just click that button there, not that one. Send to depot. No, which one is it? There you go, sell. Click that, and click that. There's quite a few stacked up here, it seems. Okay. There we go, finally. Right, we'll get rid of these roads now. Don't need that station, don't need that, don't need that. Tidied up, all the warnings have gone. The only thing we've left to do now is unpause it, which we'll do. And then we need to quickly create a train. So we've got a nice flat surface, so we're going to go with the BR75 bad. We'll bring in some big tank cars. Maybe go like 144 capacity. That seems to be working well for us. Click buy, color it black, send it on its line. Romsey Crude 1. Off it goes. Now what's going to happen is this oil well is going to start freaking out a little bit because it can't send anything anywhere. But because the train station was built pretty close to where the truck station was, I don't know if you saw that weird, I should have pointed out, there was like a weird, not like a black speech bubble icon. if you build something on or very close to where there was a truck station when you deleted it, it will immediately switch over to this. It's like a bubble radius where you put this down and it goes, oh, hang on a minute, that's a replacement for that, and it does actually pick up on it. So in this case, it switched over quite quickly, and there's now a load of crude waiting to go, which is fantastic because our train is coming through. Now, let's just check on everything else because we've got trucks. You may have noticed that I defined this slightly differently, and look what the game's done. So I'm going to add a waypoint on there, and then I'm going to get the Romsey fuel thing. I'm going to say, after New Street, can you please go that way via that waypoint? And what that will do is just allow these trucks to back up. You see how this one's blocking here? If we allow this to continue, it would block there, and it would stop this oil drop-off coming in. So these trucks have now got all of this queue here, which should be more than enough. Back here, you've got the same issue. They're kind of waiting, but they're on their own separate queue. So there's nothing... they shouldn't interfere with each other if we had something else coming in here. Right, now we'll just speed up the game, and this thing should set off with a full load of crude, so this should help us enormously. You may notice what I did with the road network. So the road here now comes underneath, so this is a high-speed road, so it should improve traffic flow a little bit, but obviously that's private transport. But it will help the cities, but we will at some point put a bus service on here. At the moment we have our bus service going into here. They're only going to Thatcham, but we should have another one for Lee. We don't have a bus service at Lee at the moment. It's entirely private transport, but we need to do that. Unfortunately, we're not bringing anything in to grow it, but we can still get a bit of passenger run out of it because looking at the data, there's already people traveling along this road, you can see. So we can definitely get a public transport service going there. Right, they've now got crude. That is now producing oil again. This network should now start to pick up. I'm much happier with the situation here. That's much, much tidier. The only thing is, with Romsey, if we want to put a train line here that we talked about to go off to Thatcham, if we was to drop a train line here in the future, passenger train line, if I can't find it, that one, not that one, that one. If we were to drop this in like that, which is something that I had planned, it can still be done. It just means that we need to probably tunnel that section of road or just elevate the track over this lot. That's just something we're going to have to do. We don't really have the space here to elevate this. Elevating a passenger line will slow it down, but, if we're going to go that way, we're going to go that way. Alternative is to have the train line kind of going around there, but we've already got a bus station here, so, I don't know. We may not come this way at all. We might just go to Thatcham and make that a terminus station and just use Thatcham as a hub. We'll think about that next. We've solved a bunch of problems in this episode, but we have run out of time. So, hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. Let me know in the comments section what your thoughts are, if you're enjoying the game, any tips you've got, and I shall see you on the next episode. Take care, guys. Happy transporting.